what string weight do you use, or string gauges? Do you have a preference?
These are 9s.
9. Okay.
But sometimes I use 9.5s.
Oh, I didn't even know there was.
Yeah, the Toyota makes a great 9.5 set. It's 9.5 to 44. And it's a great kind of in-between string for people that like to bend, but they like a little more tone, you know, more. Yeah.
Yeah, man, you're a great soloist. But man, I always thought that your rhythm guitar playing is off the scale, man.
Oh, well,
like I was listening to the Dave Weckl thing today when you were playing. You played this third thing. So what's your approach to like coming up with parts, man? Because I've heard you on a lot of records, and usually it's really amazing. Can you talk a little bit about that? I mean,
sure, yeah. Well, I have some rhythm guitar heroes, you know.
Yeah.
You know, some of my rhythm guitar heroes are like, there's all the guys that played on the Motown stuff.
Right.
All the Motown guitar players, they're just awesome. James Brown's guys.
Right.
You know. John McLaughlin.
Right, yeah.
Awesome rhythm player. If you check out Bitches Brew and the stuff that he did, all that weird shit that he played on Bitches Brew, all that weird rhythm stuff is just outstanding. Really crazy, you know. So he was a big influence on me, I think. But I try to, with rhythm parts, I think about rhythm parts like a melody. Rhythm part is just a melody, you know. And actually, I talked about this. I did like an instructional thing for Cherry Lane and talked about how to play funk rhythm guitar.
Got it.
Yeah. And one of the things I talked about in the thing was the idea of your right hand is kind of an engine, right? Your right hand is an engine that never stops, and it's always kind of ghosting the smallest subdivision of the time. Like if it's an 8th note, it's a 16th note, you know. Like in other words, if the tempo is like that, you can either have the subdivision be 8ths, like dun 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 dun, or 16ths, da 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 da, right? So there's always that going on, whatever the tempo. I'm always thinking the smallest subdivision, and the right hand is kind of always ghosting that. Like. And you're just kind of picking out the melody, really. I'm thinking about whatever the top note of those chords is, you know?
Yeah.
Like can't play the last part, but you get the idea. It's just really just filling in the notes below whatever melodic idea you have rhythm part.
This proves I've tried for decades to sound like you. I think I got the notes, but you know what? It showed the only way to make it sound like it sounds on the record is when you play it. That just shows you how much your hands have to do with the way you made it sound. I can't make it sound like you, no matter how hard I try. And you know, that's how individualistic.
You know that I stole that like from Keith Richards.
You did.
Did anybody ever hear this song? that's what triggered the. That's what gave me the idea for the Jungle Walk.
Oh man.
Where
It's
do
just
you
the
get it
same
from?
thing. You know. So that's where the song came from.
A little bit of
Now, in what guitar did you play the solo at the end with?
A Strat.
A Strat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's.
Funny, huh?
But see, okay, that's your other tune where people remember. They remember the first time they ever heard that, and they go, "What the hell is that, man?"
Anyway, this I love this guitar. This particular one is a really good one. But you can hear the ash tops always have, for me anyway, the ash tops always have that really sweet kind of top end.
Did you bring your personal guitar that you choose to play all the time amongst these, or are all of these for sale?
That one right there was. These are all for sale. These are all for sale. But to be honest with you, because I'm the last one that touches these guitars, I know all these guitars. I remember them all. I set them up.
Sure.
You know, I did final assembly, set it on, so I remember all of them. It's kind of weird, but like if I pick something up, oh yeah, that one had this, that one had that. I can really, I develop a relationship with those things. And sometimes, to be honest with you, I get sad.
Yeah.
I have to shit that I
Let
get
'em
my
go.
separation anxiety. You know,
Right.
I don't want to give this
Don't let it go.
You know.
Well, that brings a question up. Now, how do you get the action? How do you do this, the filing, of the nut? How do you know exactly where you want the nut to be for your, for exactly what you need? Like, what's the process for the nut
It's
filing?
feel.
So
I mean,
you-
we have a spec.
Okay.
We have a spec. We set it with feeler gauges.
Okay.
There's a spec. Sure, there's a spec, a first fret spec. And basically, what I try to do is I try to set up. We try to really make the guitars consistent as far as the setup. But there's some things as far as final setup that each player has their own preference as far as the last little stuff. So I kind of set things up just in general as a matter of standard to set them up the way I like them.
I've noticed that some.
A little lower action than what I usually prefer, just because I think not every player likes the action quite as high as I do. So I tend to try to I set them up a little bit lower than I would set up my own guitars.
Whenever I bought a new guitar or a new neck, I've noticed that they always leave the string at the nut a little safely high.
Mhm. Yeah.
But so that's not good playing wise. But I understand why they do it. They don't want
Mhm.
people complaining about that buzzing
Mhm.
first note. But
I do the same thing.
I always have to take them down just to where they just begin to buzz, and then I like that.
Yeah. Well, that's you.
Yeah.
Like I personally like to leave them safely high,
Yeah.
but more for tone reasons than string buzz reasons.
Right.
Because I think the guitars just sound better with a little more height at the nut than a lot of people. A lot of people set up guitars, like with 18 thousandths between the top of the fret and the bottom of the string, 18 thousandths, something like that.
Yeah.
I like mine around 28,
Yeah.
quite a bit higher.
I've only just now started using numbers. I got that little bit from Stu Mack,
Yeah.
that you put on
Feeler
there.
gauge.
And it actually gives you, it makes it so you can actually be consistent
Yeah.
in doing your nuts.
Yeah.
And I never had that, it was all by feel and I always mess it up.
Yeah, I know.
How
Me
to
too.
do
It took me like 100 years to figure out that I have to know when to stop with anything.
Are they all 24 frets or the guitars? 24 frets?
22.
22.
Yeah.
Yay!
So that's got a real signature kind of.
So now what are your options, what are your pickup options with this guitar?
People
There's 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's, you know. Anyway, you get the idea.
Do you have 6105s or 6100s or what?
6100s. So that's kind of the T-Pro. That's you know, got its own definitive sound, and for those times when you really want to have that vibe. But again, the spruce is very soft wood, and it sounds really. That's why the T-Pros sound kind of warmer than a lot of Tellys often do with more bottom end, because it's got, first of all, no string through. It's got a top load bridge. It's got a spruce top. So it's got, you know, it's got more, there's less string tension. It's not as stiff.
Are any of the guitars string through?
No. I love the Classic Pros too. They're like, just visually, I think the Classic Pro may be my favorite, just in terms of just the way they look. There's just something so to me elegant and classic. That's all the fingers, no pick. Just warm. You know, like Classic Pros for me, this is a guitar I would take to a jazz gig or somewhere I want to play a lot of neck pickup stuff. Just because the combination of the soft top and the rosewood are just like gorgeous, you know, warm, mushy, you know, lovely.
That's a 9 set? It sounds like a 10 set.
I know, it's nice. No, I think, yeah. It's nice. 9.5? Yeah. Anyway, you get the idea. It's hard to stop playing them.
If you got a call to suddenly go out and you had to play a gig, what would you take that pedal board and rent an amp, or what's your amp at home? What's your,
Right now I'm using an amp that it's called an Oxygen. It's a Canadian company, killer amp. And we're actually working on, there could be a Buzz Feiten guitar amp in our future.
yeah.
Because I'm working with that company, you know, working on amp design. It's a killer amp, and they're doing something completely different. Really wonderful. We ended up in a booth next to them at an amp show, and I was so blown away with this amp.
Yeah, that's how it happened, huh?
Yeah.
Is there anything different about it?
Yes.
What do they
The
sound
whole
like?
output section is different. It's got knobs I never saw.
What does it remind you of? I mean, if you had to, is there
Tonally,
any sound that you can say that would make me?
It sounded like Vibrolux on steroids.
There you go.
You know,
Which
it
is
sounded like a big beefy Vibrolux, but with an awesome breakup.
which is a pro with 10s instead of 12s.
Right, but this thing was 18 watts, and it blew a 45-watt Riviera in the weeds, and a matchless.
Well, that's
It
not
was
hard.
18 watts. So
2 EL84s.
I don't know what I think.
That would be two. That would be two
EL84s.
EL84s.
But he has some different configuration. Output section's all different. It doesn't have like volume and presence. You know, it's got some kind of cut thing and some shape knob, and it all has some esoteric crap to do probably with the impedance or something. But whatever he's doing, it's working.
And what do you like in speakers these days?
I like Celestians a lot. I
You
just like.
mean any particular one?
I mean, I've always been a fan of like the classic Wii 80 watt, the greenback, not such a fan of the new style vintage 30.
I remember you used to combine a couple speakers.
Yeah, the 80 watt, classic Wii 80 watt, and a greenback.
And you had one of them front loaded.
That's correct.
Now that's what happened to that product?
Andy Fuchs. Fuchs Amps is making them.
He is.
Yeah. He had Buzz Feiten design speaker cabinets through Fuchs.
But you.
And I believe that Kevin, right back there, can hook you up.
There's no Fuchs Buzz Feiten amp, huh?
No.
No, it's a 212 cabinet. He still makes it.
So anyway, that is kind of the now you have an overview. Oh yes, also, did I tell you about the saddles?
No.
Okay,
You didn't.
ladies and gentlemen, you are in for a treat because I love our bridges. I go to a lot of trouble to have these bridges made because they don't make them. They weren't available. Everybody made a bridge that had the spacing that was wide enough for me.
What is the space?
It's
2
2 and 5/30 seconds
Okay.
instead of an eighth. It's a 30-second wider, and just like with the experience I was telling you about, that extra little bit is
Right.
the whole thing.
Absolutely.
It's kind of where, you know. So anyway, I go to a lot of trouble to have these bridges, base plates modified and stuff, and all that stuff. So it sort of is the next step in the evolution of the Buzz Feiten bridge. They're all going to be, Buzz Feiten guitars all going to become and standard and can be retrofit with brass saddles, machined brass saddles like
Now,
these.
are these machined or molded?
Yes, they're machined at great expense.
Do you like the Callahan stuff?
Yeah, I like all that stuff, man. I like, you know, I'm a big fan of machine stuff, but, you know, brass has a vibe, it has a sound, you know, it really does. I've always been a fan. I love the bridges on our guitars now. I particularly like the way they sound. I just think they sound warm. They sound very musical. And most importantly, they feel good. And that's almost the most important thing to me. And of course, they have to sound good, but they all feel really good. Just when you pick them up, they're easy to bend. They're easy to, you know, lots of sustain, lots of bottom end. The brass, however, is just kind of another. It's another step towards really making them like the bomb, best you can possibly get. So that's the deal. Plus the other. Can you grab this, Joe? The other feature of these saddles, I don't know if you can see it, is that they're flat on the top here, so it's a place to rest your hand. You know, if you like palm muting a lot and stuff, it's very comfortable to rest your hand on the back of the saddle.
Oh yeah, wow. I'm glad you pointed that out. I wouldn't have noticed that.
Yeah, they're flat on the top.
Oh, that's
And
great.
also they have a little ramp. There's a groove that's turned in the saddle to center the string in the string groove. However, there's also a ramp that is elliptically shaped. It's not round. It's an ellipse. So when the string comes up that ramp, it doesn't just go follow the circle. You with me? There's a little ellipse machined in there with a very specific witness point where that string leaves the saddle for intonation purposes. Right?
I gotta look here.
You can barely see it. It's very tough to see, but you can see it.
Maybe more of the string is in contact with it, so.
Right here?
vibrations transfer.
Yeah. So if you guys want to come up and check that out,
Oh, man, that's cool.
yeah,
That is cool.
it's really cool. It really works good. It's right there with the string.
Let's have a big hand for Buzzy Feiten.
Yeah!